Hello and welcome everybody to the Casual Spikes podcast. Episode forever gone because I'm not keeping track anymore. That was honestly the toughest thing about this show is having to look back and see what episodes we've done
I
and
think
what
it's episode
number.
27 or 28.
Yeah, I've lost count on. I don't have enough appendages to count. Ayo. Uh, but we are back, and we are in a crazy new world for constructed magic. As modern probably got one of its most like actual factual, probably one of its most impactful ban restricted announcements probably ever. It might actually just be the biggest one for the format. Of course, there's some changes everywhere else, but that is the format we're going to be focusing on today.
Yes. I think honestly, there's only one time I could honestly think that the was a bigger announcement, and that was back in 2016.
Yeah, probably. I mean, but I think, possibly. I guess depends when, because I don't remember if. I guess I don't even remember when in 2016, because I think Twin got banned like right at the beginning of 2016. I think is roughly the
Yeah,
timeline.
I think that was the biggest like BNR announcement before that. Before this one was when Twin got banned because it was just so it was oppressive deck. Quotation marks heavily around that one where it was 40% of the meta if we took all the Friends Twin decks and put them all together.
Mm.
But it's okay though because we've had the other decks be 40% of the meta, and that was fine for way too long. But Twin was oppressive.
It was cool for a few months. It's not cool for an entire format.
Um,
But
that
before we talk about this stuff, because I know you're rearing and ready to go, Randall. I see you over there, and Gregory back there, all blurry and stuff.
Well, bird.
Um, if you are watching this on the Casual Spikes YouTube channel, first off, hello, hi. I'm glad that you found it. I hope you have a nice seat and a nice cold, tasty beverage with you. I am drinking water because I'm trying to pretend to be healthy while I guzzle down like 350 milligrams of caffeine before noon. But, if you found the channel, great, wonderful. I'm glad that you're here. Please consider subscribing so you can catch the new episodes as they come out, as we talk about the standard, modern, and pioneer formats, or really whatever's the current RCQ season, plus some magic news stuff if anything ends up being pretty big here. We have a I would say, pretty good knowledge, pretty good grasp on what is going on in those formats. So you can come here and you can find some mostly educated takes. I can't speak for Randy because,
Oh no, I'll do the hottest takes. Infect's taking down the next RC.
no, I meant because of your affinity for watching, like the Subway Surfer slash Family Guy clip videos. It's like, well, all right, I'll watch one, and then all of a sudden, that's every reel after.
I did that earlier today at work. I just started doom scrolling
Well, hold on, hold
because
on. It is Roblox job.
no, it's my real job. It's okay.
That,
My boss watches me as he does it.
oh my god. He's like, some kids just never learn these days, and he's just over there in the corner doing it.
Yeah, he's just literally just at his corner desk, just going.
Show some respect. Scroll, scroll, scroll. But if you are interested in seeing any additional content, me and Randy actually have our own YouTube channels. Surprise, surprise. So if you go down the description down below, you will find links to my channel as well as Randy's channel as well. He's focusing, it seems like quite a bit on standard, but I think you talked about potentially getting into some modern now with the new changes.
Yeah, so I mean, I focus on whatever the RCQ season is. So whether it's standard, modern, pioneer, RIP, um, I usually focus on that. So obviously, right now I've been focusing a lot on standard because that's the current season. Obviously, we're getting ready to go into the RCs though for modern here in February and March. I'll be going to the March one, so I'm definitely going to care about what's going on in modern and how much money I'm going to have to spend to build a deck in modern again because somehow Mox Opal is the best card in the format. But
That's what they
outside of
want you
that,
to think.
yeah, I mean, I still think that Faith of Looting is going to be the next band, but that's not here or there. But I do focus on whatever's going on. So clearly, when the RCs start popping back up, I will be talking more about modern. I'm probably going to be talking about modern now because there's a huge shakeup that we're getting ready to talk about. But I usually just focus on whatever the RCQ season is because that's usually what's most impactful to people. So Pioneer, I probably won't talk about for another like year and a half until Wizards recognizes it's the format again. But if
That's
you want
fair.
standard and modern, I can help you.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, with the announcement and stuff, I think modern's actually going to be. People are probably going to wish that there was like two modern RCQ like cycles rather
Season.
than just
Yeah.
one. You know, that's going to be the big thing. But yeah, I mean, uh, I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'll be honest. This whole announcement thing, I'll be honest. Like when I saw it and when you sent it to me, I didn't believe it. I thought it was fake.
Oh no, dude. So I'm in like another group chat of like players around us type deal, and they posted it in the group chat, and it definitely felt like a joke post because there's like, yeah, these three cards are banned in modern, these four cards are unbanned in modern, and it definitely just looked like the April Fool's joke that goes around every year in like the Magic community, where it's like, hey guys, we unbanned all your favorite pet cards in modern, ha ha
Mm-hmm.
ha ha. Remember when we could play these cards and it wasn't considered bad? And it was just like, yeah, cool, that's not real. And like, so I immediately had to Google it because I thought the announcement was still like an hour or so away. So I was like, oh, this is definitely not real. I was like, so the announcement was way earlier in the day than I thought it was. So that screwed me up because I was waiting for like noon or 1 o'clock to be like, okay, I'll go like on my phone at work. Okay, what got banned in modern? Is the One Ring banned or is it now worth $500? Um, and then like, so that threw me off. But I was like, oh. Yeah, this is like I said, I think this is the biggest shakeup since 2016 when Splinter Twin got banned because it was quote unquote such an impressive part of the meta where like people were so shocked that card got banned.
I can't even remember. I'm just gonna look it up real quick. But you can go ahead and you can keep talking about the good old days, Grandpa.
Listen, Kay, back in my day, Termagoyf was $100 minimum for one. Now a place that's like $36.
Oh, so was this? Oh no, this was 2024. No, why did it give me this one? You know what? You can. It was okay. So I was right. It was the beginning of 2020 or 2016.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I say it was 8 years ago that Splinter Twin got banned.
So in that same ban list, Summer Bloom also got banned, which everyone thought Titan Deck's dead. No way it survives, and here we are, like fucking 15 years later.
8 years later, that deck still hasn't gotten another banning, essentially, and it still is like it has been good through every iteration of modern, and it kills me that like that deck somehow doesn't get another banning.
It's yeah, like I don't. I mean, I think at times like being the best deck, but I think it's like a gift and a curse where it avoids the bans because it's a complicated deck to play. It also avoids, I think, being the best deck to play because it is a deck that's so hard to play.
So I have a hot take. I don't think it's that complicated to play if you sit down and actually play it, right? Like it's like any other deck in the format. Like because people always go like, "Oh, Burn's the easiest deck to play," and I think Burn's way more complicated than people give it credit for because you need to learn when you're supposed to pivot from burning their face or burning their creatures, and when you need to be more defensive with your creatures when you need to attack them. There's a lot of nuances in Burn. It just doesn't also take like 47 steps to do it. That's the difference. But a lot of like the steps that you do for prime time are just like autopilot steps after you play like 50 games. Like, oh, okay, in this situation of prime time, I'm always going to get these two lands, get my prime time haste, get two more lands. Now, what do I do from here is your question, not like there's a lot of like Titan does a lot of steps, but there's a lot of steps that are just autopilot. Like, okay, we're in this situation, we need to get these two lands, or like, oh, we're in this like generic situation, we should get these two lands. We're not winning this turn, so these are our better setup lands to go grab. Type situation, as compared to where like you have a lot more like micro decisions with some of the other decks that are more complicated, but because you're not actually making like these 32 game actions, it doesn't look like you did a lot.
Randy, I just want you to know that there is someone, by the name of Dom Harvey. He's a pretty good
Hmm.
Magic player, if you didn't know.
I've heard,
He has an 80-page detailed guide on how to play Amulet Titan.
I've heard. I have it downloaded somewhere.
I don't even like. I don't even know if I could sit down and if I really tried hard writing 80 pages of anything. If I really wanted to, I couldn't even write 80 pages of like how much I love my wife, and literally it'd be like 79 and a half pages, and Dom Harvey still wrote more about Amulet Titan than I did.
Nice save.
That's, I have to inflate the number just in case she actually watches this and she's like, "Oh, you don't really love me that much," and I get beat with a pillow in Roblox, of course.
I mean, to be fair, I think if you're going to get beat with anything, pillow might be the safest thing to get beaten with.
I'll also end up getting shot in Pal World. Like she'll take all my pals. Uh,
Um, but no, I do think that like it needs to get a ban. Green Sun or Green Sun, Jesus Christ. Primetime has had his day in the sun too long. Kill that deck, please.
I know.
Anyway,
He's got a
though.
sick tan though, being in the sun. I'm telling you. Like I'm talking about like spray tan levels of tan. Like some people need to go for a few sessions and possibly even a few presidencies to get that kind of tan. I
Alright,
love it.
back to
Backpedal,
modern.
backpedal. Yeah, you're right. Modern. That's what we are.
All right, so going over the actual announcement, though, in case you haven't heard it, in case you've been living under a rock, in case you don't care about modern, whatever the reason is that you haven't heard this yet, three big things happened, or three big things got banned, essentially. The One Ring got banned in modern, to really, really no one's surprise. Honestly, the One Ring didn't get banned, that would be more surprising than it getting banned. Everyone saw this card coming. Um, this is not a financial advice stream. This is just my personal opinion. If you don't need to sell your One Rings, don't. It's still a super popular card in Commander. It's still a super like flavorful card. I think it's going to retain a lot of value here in the next like 6 to 8 months. You're going to see it go back up to, 80, $90, I think, just because everyone's going to unload them. People are going to buy them, and then this is going to slowly drive the price back up. There's still a lot of casual players who really like that card, things like that. So if you don't need to sell them, I suggest not selling them. That's just my 2 cents. Not a financial stream, not actual financial advice, just my 2 cents of what I've seen happen before. The Amp Raptor also got banned, which was surprising and not surprising. Amp Raptor was the one in a red for a 2/1, had first strike, and then when it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. And then if you cast this card from your hand, you can exile cards from, or not, I guess not, you can, you do, you exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non land card, and then you may cast that card by spending any amount of energy equal to its mana cost and paying its mana cost. So this is the surprising ban, one of the surprising bans. We knew something from the energy deck was going to get banned. We just weren't sure what it was going to be. We knew it was going to be like Amp Raptor, a Johnny, Guide of Souls, the Ocelot Pride. One of those cards was getting
Mm.
banned. Just no one knew what was getting banned. We just for sure knew something was getting hit. What was getting hit, no one knew. So Amp Raptor was their card of choice, which I think is probably the best now that it's lost the One Ring. This is the most like swingy card where you can just like go one drop, like go Guided Souls into Amp Raptor into like a 4 drop. You're like in your dream situation, or go into a 3 drop. And you get to go 1, 2, 3 on turn two, essentially. So it makes sense on why they did this. This is a real feast or famine type card. I think is a good one to ban. And
Randy,
then
hold on. Let's just listen. All right, the scenario that you pointed out is not like a dream type situation. It belongs on the Jersey Shore because it is the situation. That is what's going down right now. It's
yes,
literally pulling up its like raptor fur to show off its abs. It's like this is the situation.
all this time you had a chance to make a good joke, and that's what you
Oh,
go
dude, we
with.
had it loaded up. I had like all of the dial-up noises going in my brain. Just
Jesus. And then I think this is probably the biggest surprise. I think the only person I know who was super advocating for this was Spike or Aspiring Spike. Jagantha got banned, which I think is good as a whole. Spike made a lot of well-reasoned, well arguments for why this card gets banned. The companion cost to being able to play it was not a real cost. It was like the Lur's cost or Yorion's cost, where it's just like, oh no, you mean I also have to play super good cards in my deck? No, that's such a letdown. So you got to play this for free essentially, and with the inclusion of Arena of Glory, this now became a hasting 5/5 creature instead of just a 5/5 elk. That was not amazing, but could get you out of Blood Moon. Was this a free 5/5 that was hard to kill, and now also could be hasted. So I think with everything that like Spike had argued and the other people had argued or kind of parroted from what he had said, it makes sense that this companion finally got banned. I think we're now down to the companions that actually have a relative cost to putting him in your deck. It's not just, oh no, I also wanted to already do this. Now I get a free eighth card. Yay.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I'm in agreement with you on everything you just said right there. That whole block, too long didn't read. I'm sorry for your loss, or I'm happy for you. But
no,
go ahead.
I say I think the bannings that happened are really good. I think like the One Ring needed to go. Like the fact that like that was just like number one check. Like if the BNR announcement was just we have banned the One Ring in Modern, good luck, would have been fine. I think Modern would have been in a healthy spot with just that announcement. Adding that we took something out of the energy deck to now make it at least not the best thing to be doing, and then taking away Giganta because I think that's just it was a free thing to take away. And I think that's fine. Notably, real quick, Giganta also got banned in Pioneer. Um,
Of
Basically for the
course.
same reasons as Modern. It was just too free to play. That I don't think that's that much big of a deal. It wasn't really stopping anything for Pioneer. It is cool because now you don't just get to sit across the deck and go, oh, you've revealed Giganta. Cool. Your black red, Jund, creativity, or not creativity, sorry. You can't be creativity.
Transmog.
Transmog, this deck. Like, oh, cool. So you're not one of the, like 12 decks. Cool. And that's what the
Mm.
problem with Giganta was in Modern. It's like, oh, cool. You can be any deck, really. Like, you're not going to be like, if you sat down and your opponent reveals Giganta, the only thing you knew for sure they weren't on was Charbelcher because they played Warner
Well, yeah,
and the counter spells.
I guess really you could have probably like chalked it up to like if I don't see Giganta, I have a lot better of an idea of what you're playing. Well, I guess that's, kind of. So I guess kind of weird things like Giganta, you're probably playing Boros Energy. You're not Giganta, like it's like two different decks that you could be playing.
Yeah.
Realistically speaking.
Yeah. You actually got more information if they didn't reveal Giganta. Because like Giganta could be energy, but it could also have been like a couple of other decks, and like you're not energy,
Mm.
or like you're not energy, or something playing Giganta. Well, you're probably Belcher.
Mm.
This is a fun format.
You're either Belcher, Frogtide, or Breach.
Yeah,
Which really kind of upsets me that Frogtide is called Frogtide and it's not some other like B word because like Belcher Breach, like awesome, great, and then Frogtide.
yeah. And then I guess so that was great. Like the bannings were amazing. This is kind of what people expected. Giganta was a surprise banning, but there was a lot of good arguments for it. Amp was not a surprise banning. We just didn't know what was going to get banned out of the energy deck. We all assumed it was something, and then the One Ring was like guaranteed. All right, we all knew we were starting with the One Ring is banned. Maybe there'll be some other things.
Hmm.
And then we had some unbannings that quite literally no one expected besides the people who claimed that Splitter Twin's getting unbanned for sure this time, every time there should be an R announcement.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess we'll start with Splinter Twin then. So Splinter Twin got unbanned. This is the first time Splinter Twin's been legal in Modern for 8 years. It got banned in 2016, like we were talking about earlier in the podcast here. So 8 years since Splinter Twin has been unbanned. People have argued that Splinter Twin could be unbanned for the last, I want to say, 5 years in Modern because it
Mm.
wouldn't be oppressive. The biggest argument I hear against unbanning Splinter Twin is they think that Teferi Time Rabbler is going to make it an unstoppable combo. Those people also don't realize that Time Rabbler hasn't been playable for at least the last 4 years in Modern. As someone who has cast Time Rabbler in the last 4 years in Modern, playing control decks, it is a card that you had in game one to help bounce your ring, and then you cut it immediately in game two and three. That card never unless you were playing against the control mirror match, that card was the first thing cut every time, every
Whoa.
single time.
Gotta calm down, Paulie.
No, no.
Speaking
Teferi
nonsense.
Time Rabbler has been terrible in Modern, and people who are arguing that it's going to make Splinter Twin broken have not played Modern, or still think that Time Rabbler is a good card or a relevant card, I should say.
Uh, so to kind of unpack what you just said there, because that was a whole lot of stuff. Too bad
That
I
wasn't
didn't read.
Jesus.
I'm not reading all that. So I think a Splinter Twin. as I kind of told some people like in the comments on like my videos and stuff, I think that Splinter Twin was definitely equal parts a card that was probably okay for it to come back in Modern and a card for the culture. Um, I think the thing to keep in mind as we talk about some of these unbannings and possibly some future unbannings, because I don't necessarily think they're going to stop here. I don't think the next list is going to have anything unbanned on it, but maybe the one after that, possibly. But I think a lot of these unbans are going to be like really for the culture. It's going to be like, we're going to try to get people that did play Modern that maybe left because one of their favorite cards got banned, because Universes Beyond's involved, because Modern Horizons is involved, whatever the case may be, whatever shift, whatever over dramatic thing that they wanted to leave for. And this is going to be a way that players are like, you son of a bitch, I'm in. I'm going to come back and play the format because I can now play Splinter Twin. I remember how good it was, how much fun I had playing it, while also having to accept the fact that like you're going to have to probably play some of these newer cards too, meaning that again, players are getting involved, they're updating their decks, and then they find out like maybe Splinter Twin isn't that good, but I saw someone playing Frogtide. I really want to try out that deck. So I think Splinter Twin is just going to be a fine card. It's going to be a thing people play. 2-card combo that wins the game. Awesome. But to expect it to be like to reach the heights like it did in 2015, I guess really 2015 because it was banned pretty early in 2016, to ever reach those heights of being a deck that was the best deck in the format, but people still slept on it, that's just not going to happen.
No, I don't think Splinter Twin becomes. I think Splinter Twin becomes one of those things where, like, I think once all the dust settles and we kind of figure out where we're at, I think Splinter Twin's going to sit solidly in like 1.5 in the tier rankings, where it it's one of those things where it's a good meta call. If you think the meta is going to be like this, Splinter Twin's going to be really well positioned. If it's a bunch of whatever decks, it's going to be what bad position type situation. I think it's going to be one of those good meta call decks where like you realize that it's good in these situations. It's not always good. And it's not always right to jam it. I think people are going to learn real quick too that Splinter Twin is like a 3 of, not a 4 of card that you put in your deck too.
Mm.
I'm kind of waiting to see when that shift finally happens, because we were seeing that shift happen in 2016 where people were learning that you don't lean on, like, you play a good deck that is also like, whoops, I win. Your deck is not Splinter Twin. It's I put all these good cards in my deck and then also this 4-mana enchantment that does nothing. But it has the I win button next to it. And I think that's what's going to end up happening. And I also think that almost every card on here that got unbanned is because Wizards realized how much they had ruined Modern. And when I say ruined, I mean their lack of involvement in Modern for cards that needed to be banned and things that needed to happen way sooner than they did. And I think they realized that they ran Modern into the ground by not acknowledging it, curating it, touching it, basically. You needed to touch Modern much earlier than you had people who only play Modern, like Aspiring Spike, playing Standard because he's like, yeah, Modern just is in a terrible situation. He's like, I'm playing a combo deck or I'm playing Energy. There's nothing fun here.
Mm.
And when you have creators like him who are just like, yeah, I'm not playing the format that I'm known for playing and only playing, you have now ruined a format. Like, this is just there's no other words other than that. And so I think a lot of these bans or unbannings are to draw people back in. Like you said, we're like, oh, I remember playing Splinter Twin. Oh, I remember playing these other cards. I kind of want to get back into it now if I can recast these cards and capture those moments of like, oh, remember when at F&M I did XYZ? That was crazy. Or like insert whatever memory they have from that. And I think that's what we're going to see is a lot of people are getting back into Modern. And if you look at like the Modern, um, what am I looking for? The Modern,
Like
like
challenges,
League,
okay,
the
leagues.
like Modern League right now, there is a ridiculous amount of people currently in it. Like it's just an unreal amount of people are now currently playing Modern and things of that nature. So like it did what it wanted to do, right? Like it got people back into Modern. It got people doing what they wanted to do, and that's crazy. Yeah, there we go. There's currently 1,500 people actively playing in the Modern League right now on
Mm-hmm.
Magic Online.
I think
That
standard
is
only ever has like a few hundred in it at one time.
Yeah, that is a wild amount of like that's a wild number to have in the modern league right now. Now, obviously, not all 1,500 people are actively playing right this second, but you have 1,500 people actively playing in it.
Hmm.
And like
Someone
when you,
has a league going, that many people,
yeah, so standard by representation is 438.
which honestly I think is pretty good considering that's
It
also
is,
has to compete with arena as well.
yeah,
But I mean,
yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. I'm not saying
well, yeah,
438 is
yeah.
a bad number. I am saying this camera's gonna get stabbed. But
It it was more the bull black where I'm like, oh, Dakota, like of course modern has like four times as many players as standard. Standard's like okay, but there's arena and modern you can only
yeah,
play on as like I know, but just
but yeah.
see
So I
why.
think yeah, Wizards did what they wanted to do. They are successfully getting people back into modern, especially. And especially now with like Magic Online having that token to where you can basically play any deck you want for $30 right now going on Magic Online if you guys want to get into that over Christmas break. That's not like a shell for Moto, just like if you're trying to get back in or trying to figure out what you want to do before you invest like real money into modern, like buying mana bases, buying decks, things like that. Definitely something to look into, or getting a subscription based service to where you can rent cards.
Hey,
Um,
use my code 5% off. Chill.
Chill.
Yeah.
But do you want to talk about the next card that got unbanned, or some of the other cards that got unbanned?
Yeah. So the next one I kind of want to talk about, I think is I didn't think this card was ever going to come off. I don't think it's necessarily as good. I think I've kind of come down on my opinion since it actually got unbanned. Not like for anything that it's done, just kind of relative to the other power level of cards that we've seen come off the list. But the Green Sun Zenith unban initially to me, I was just like, whoa, like hold on here, like, well, because I'm thinking like Green Sun Zenith, things like Once Upon a Time, the one green spell that you cast a creature, you draw a card or whatever.
Nature.
Yeah, Glimpse of Nature, like those kinds of cards. I'm like, those are just green cards that probably can just never come off the list. Like Once Upon a Time, almost assuredly is never coming off the ban list, and Glimpse of
This one's
Nature, I guess, isn't. But Green Sun Zenith, X and a green, sorcery, search your library for a green creature with converted mana cost extra less, put it onto the battlefield, shuffle, and then shuffle Green Sun Zenith into your library. This has just been like immediately first thing that comes to mind. People can finally Green Sun for Dryad Arbor, and that's really all players wanted to do anyway, for whatever reason. Like I want a rampant
all
growth on turn one instead of turn two.
all bad players. Yes.
But of course, like when I made some of my videos and stuff, and like when I talked about Green Sun Zenith, we're like the main thing that's going to slot into, and that's kind of where we're going to see some of these cards go, because Splinter Twin is definitely you build your deck with Twin in mind, and you kind of build your deck with these cards in mind too, but they just play so well naturally that you're already just wanting to play these cards, and like these cards kind of enhance the experience of playing these cards, I think. And Green Sun Zenith is, immediately in Titan, in like these green base decks, we've seen Yawgmoth pick it up, even though it can't search out the namesake of the deck. Yawgmoth still wants to play a few copies of it. Samwise combo, same thing. There's like a few parts of the combo that can't actually get from Green Sun Zenith, but it still wants to play it. And it's just showing that it is a very good creature tutor, even if it is narrow and you need to find a way to be able to pump mana into it. Because even to get a 3-cost card, you still have to pay 4 mana for it, and you're tapping out on your turn essentially to do it.
So I will say, I think the big thing about Green Sun Zenith too is like, because I mean, it's like Samwise combo, which like you can't get like the sack outlet, which is black, or you can't get like Amalia, which is black. And then like in Yawgmoth, you can't get Yawgmoth, obviously it's a black card, or you can't get
Blood Artist or anything.
Blood Artist or whatever. What's the other one they play?
They play Zulaport Cutthroat too. I think
Yeah, or
Cutthroat was popular because of the One Ring.
yeah,
Because I think it somehow I don't. Yeah, I think it got
it
around the
doesn't target.
protection.
Yeah, it doesn't target. Because Blood Artist says like target opponent or something like
Yeah.
that. It's something weird. But neither here nor there. Both of those are black cards, right? You can't search it for that. But now instead of having to rely on 4 chords of calling to do your searching for all your creatures, Green Sun's like, hey man, all your green cards can be got by me, and I
Hmm.
go back in the deck always, unless I'm countered. Um,
That yeah,
but
yeah.
but like, the fact that Green Sun now relieves that stress valve of like, all right, well, I'm playing Yawgmoth. I have 4 Quarter Calling that I kind of have to reserve for getting one of my combo pieces. But it's like I don't want to really go cord for a Young Wolf unless it's like I have Young Wolf like unless I have like Young Wolf and Yawgmoth already on the field. Then I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll go search for a Young Wolf because I'm gonna like that sets up my combo basically.
Hmm.
But now we can you can use these early spells to get things that you need and not feel bad like, oh, I wasted one of my Quarter Callings. Like you don't have this stress valve of like I only have 4 searches that I can maximum I can play. It's like, oh
Hmm.
well, I have 4 good searches in Quarter Calling because it gets anything for a price because it is 3 green X. So if you move it with a 1 drop, it's now 4 mana compared to like Green Sun is 2 mana. So there's a cost there, but besides that factor, it's now no longer I only have 4 chords. I have 4 chords to go get my black things or the things I need for to win or to do it this turn, and then my Green Suns to go get anything else.
Hmm.
So I think that's a huge deal that Green Sun gets to do that um, as well. So I'm curious to see how well Green Sun slots into these decks and things like that, um, moving forward with it essentially.
Yeah, I think Green Sun, kind of looking at it, I think the thing that really does help it is the fact that it is narrowed on. You need to go get a green creature with this card. I think that there is the potential for some pretty cool like creature value kind of decks with Green Sun Zenith. That said, of course, I think the format is also very hostile to like the slow grindy game plan a lot of the time now, just because the card pool is so big. Um, I don't know. I think Green Sun would have been like on my list, like one of the cards where I'm like, we're gonna need to really keep an eye on this. To now, I think it's just kind of an interesting thing. Like it's a really good card to play in the format. Not broken, but does some fun things and is kind of a cool like puzzle to kind of solve. When you're trying to figure out how to build your deck with Green Sun Zenith, or figuring out like what's the purpose of Green Sun Zenith in a different style deck.
Yeah, I
Personally, for
agree.
me.
I'm curious to see if we're going to get anything toolboxy to build around Green Sun, or if it's just like Yogg and Samwise combo are the toolbox decks that we're going to play. Because like, there's been a lot of like reliquaries running around. So like
The
the
green
the
black
new
one.
the green black one and the white green one have been
Oh,
like kind of running
really?
around. Yeah, I've seen a couple builds of them. They're not doing amazingly well right now, but also Modern's in like one hell of a place right now where like quite literally you could register a ham sandwich and possibly 5-0 with it
I,
because it's just everybody's doing everything.
I'm curious. Like, I mean, just as like a aside from all this, like, I absolutely love the card Knight of the Reliquary. And I think the card you're talking about, like the new one from MH3, is like white of of the Reliquary or something like that.
Yeah, it's like WRI, like yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like I know what you're talking about. But yeah, so the difference is one is green and black, and it gets +1/+1 for each creature in your graveyard.
Hmm.
And then when you can sacrifice a creature to go get a land, and then the Knight of the World Quarry is green, white, and 1 for 2/2. Gets +1/+1 for each land in your graveyard. You can sacrifice a plains or a forest and go get any base or go get any land. So both of them go get lands, but one sacrifices creatures and such. And I've seen them get played. They're not doing super well. I think I'm sure someone's 5-0 with the list already, as a whole, or 4-1 and stuff with it.
Hmm.
But it's something I'm interested in playing, especially I have the RC coming up in March, so like I'm definitely looking at a bunch of decks that are running around right now. And I want to try to like figure out what I'm playing. Obviously, I'm not going to choose a deck until at least February, is where I'll probably lock in closer to a deck. Like I'm definitely not locking in on something in December when I have a tournament 3 months away.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but like there's a whole bunch like there's just so much going on in modern right now. It's like if you watch any content creator who's playing modern right now, I guarantee you they don't know what to play because there's just too many options. Like I've watched Aspiring Spike for the last couple of days. I think he's played about 20 different decks in like 2 days. Like he literally cannot keep up with all the ideas he has in his head, all the ideas he's seen, everything that's going on because there's just so many different things you can do. And like obviously not everything's the best thing you can be doing, and no one's figured out the best thing you can be doing, obviously, because this ban announcement happened on the 16th, and we're like a week away from that or out from that. So like no one's no one's broken the format. No, there's no tier one deck. There's a bunch of like artifact decks. The green decks are running around. Obviously, Splinter Twin keeps trying to get figured out. Um, and I think Splinter Twin is going to take longer to get figured out because it's going to need an established meta to realize what it's playing. Because it's going to be more of that mid range control deck. So I think Splinter Twin is going to take a much longer time to find its place in Modern because it needs a meta.
Hmm.
As to where like if you're playing like the Green Sun decks, like Yawgmoth still does what it does, right? Like Yawgmoth doesn't like no matter what it's playing, Yawgmoth has this centralized game plan of what am I doing, how am I interrupting it. As long as you're playing creatures, I can interrupt them. Situation.
Right.
So we'll see, what all breaks down to as a whole. Do you want to talk about anything else? Do you have cards you got banned, or you want to go
No.
next?
You can go next. I'm pretty good. I think I've said what I need to say about Green Sun.
Okay. I'll talk about probably the most expensive card to get unbanned that I truly didn't think would ever get unbanned. So honestly, out of all these cards that got unbanned, Splinter Twin is the only card I thought would ever get unbanned. Mainly because like we said, we thought it could be fine in the format. I think it's going to end up showing up that fine in the format. But Mox Opal got unbanned, and so this is a Mox that is, in case you don't know what this does, it's a 0 mana artifact, legendary artifact. Has Metalcraft, so as long as you control 3 more artifacts, you can tap it and add 1 mana of any color. So it is quite literally, is the best Mox they ever printed in the sense of like it taps for any color.
Hmm.
Your downside is you have to have, you have the artifacts. So right now we're seeing a huge boon in mono blue um, affinity, basically. Like they're kind of like shadow copying what gets played in Legacy, because now they're not really missing much besides like a couple of different like soul lands and things like they're missing like the cards are never coming to modern, right? They're missing things that will never get printed in modern, but they have the counter spells, they have the good creatures, they have Mox Opal now, they have crap. The new blue creatures got printed in Kappa Cannoneer. They have
Hmm.
Kappa Cannoneer, which is basically an unkillable artifact with its Ward 4 or
Yeah,
something
we're
ridiculous.
paying 4 mana.
Yeah, 4 mana plus your like at least 2 mana to kill it. So 6 mana that you can get him out on like turn 3. So
Hmm.
good luck dealing with him. Uh, so but so we are seeing a big influx of that. We're seeing a big influence of just different decks playing Mox Opal that are just playing artifacts as well with it. Um, and now we have, Mox Opal is like $150 card right now. Or I think we saw like 135, I think is the lowest you can buy them right now. So huge card to get unbanned, super expensive, needs to get a reprint immediately already. But it is probably one of the most broken cards that was on the ban list. Um, I always thought it was crazy that Mox Opal never like Mox Opal didn't get banned until Urza and Oko were in the format together, along with Arkham's Astrolabe. And it was crazy to me that it took that long for that card to get banned because it was a Mox. Like I didn't know how. Like I looked at this card. I was like, why is this legal?
Right.
I was like,
Yeah.
we have a Mox in Modern, and like, and people looked at me like I was stupid when I was like, this is broken. Like this is a super powerful card, and they're like, you play it Affinity. What are you talking about? Like, and then all it took was like literally one good card getting like it took one good 1 mana artifact that was like playable and outside of Affinity, and the card got banned.
Oh yeah.
Like, and it's just like, and it like kind of lost my mind when it's just like people are like, oh, I don't know why this guy was talking about this card getting banned, and then like we printed Arkham's Astrolabe, I guess got auto printed, and then we made a Planeswalker that made artifacts that were bad artifacts. By the way, you made food tokens off of Oko. That wasn't good
Hmm.
because the other abilities made it like playable, but like. Because it's like, and it's like, oh yeah, Mox Opal is great. I just get the power out of a 3 mana Planeswalker in turn 2. And it's like, yeah, I said that this is going to happen, and people looked at me like I was stupid. And so, like, it's crazy to me that we unbanned Mox Opal because it fits in a lot more decks than people realize. And like right now, we're seeing the big boon of the Affinity decks and things like that being played. But Mox Opal is definitely going to find a home in somewhere else that's not Affinity, and people are not going. whether or not they're going to be surprised, I guess, is a different story. But they're going to be surprised, like, oh, Mock Noble fixing this thing too, or like, the breach decks, the underworld breach,
Hmm.
has this made that deck infinitely better by putting Mox Opal in it. You no longer need a creature to be able to have the blue mana to then, combo kill. You can now combo kill without creatures, which is infinitely worse for the format, I think. And I'm really scared to see what people are going to end up be doing with that. The only positive we have right now is a lot of graveyard hates running around, but that deck can play through graveyard hate. That deck can play through a lot. We've seen, people like Corey Ballmeister play that deck through uh, amazing competitions. People who know how to play against that deck, people who have cards against that deck, and he still just like takes out tournaments with that deck.
Mox Opal's trash. No, I'm kidding.
No,
So, yeah, I basically agree with a lot of that assessment. I think that Mox Opal, honestly, I didn't think Mox Opal was like on the same level, at least of like the last card. But I think as the days have kind of went on, I'm just thinking like, man, there's so many things that Mox Opal just gets to do that probably really shouldn't be able to be done. But at least currently in the short term, I don't think there's necessarily any Mox Opal decks that are like absolutely kind of crushing it. I don't
not yet.
think so. Not yet. Because like Teamer Breach was like the big one where I'm like, this deck gets a very obvious upgrade where, now you have essentially up to like 8 Mox you could play. I don't think they necessarily want to play that many Moxes,
I
but
think they're playing 6 to 7 right now.
yeah, like you could probably play like the full set of Opal, and then you play like 2 Amber, and like you're good there. Like Emery has always been pretty good. So now Emery kind of gets to make extra copies of Mox Opal, be like Lotus Petal, and even when Mox Opal does a Lotus Petal impression for something like Affinity or those artifact decks, it ends up being, putting out something on turn one that costs like 3 mana, and it's like I can't do anything about this. Like that's just a lot of value. You do put in a lot of resources. That's probably the saving grace. Is it is resources, it is cards. So hopefully they don't answer it. But overall, I can agree with your assessment. I think Mox Opal is pretty good. I think it is one of 2 cards that if it got banned within a year, I would not be totally surprised. But at the same time, I think that there is quite a few of the other broken artifact things that have gotten banned, like Oko, just, you know, F that card, like get it out of here. KCI,
Okay.
Oko to Broko, and like KCI as well. Like those cards just not existing definitely do wonders for the format and do wonders for Mox Opal being legal. But it only takes like a breach deck or affinity or some other artifact based deck or even an Urza deck to just take Mox Opal and kind of push it past the point of being acceptable and into the territory of like we need to kind of keep an eye on this and make sure that everything is kind of up to code.
Yeah, I see. I think Mox Opal is definitely it's one of the 2 cards I'm most worried about that came off the banning or the unbannings. Mox Opal is super powerful. It's super good, and like I said, I think it's going to fit in a lot more decks than people think or thought it was going to fit into. And we're going to see Mox Opal do some kind of dumb things because like it is just it's not just a free Mox. Like there is some like work for it, but when you figure that people were already wanting to play like Mistress Bobble, it's
Yeah.
another artifact. You have like the Underworld Breach, Underworld Breach for sure, but you have like the Asmo decks that just make a ton of artifacts, things like that. Like this card does just help with a lot of different strategies that people aren't going to immediately think of, or like things that can happen that you're just not immediately thinking of, right? Like because obviously as soon as people saw Mox Opal, the entire Affinity crew like yelled out and cheer because like they're like, oh my god, our deck's back, our deck is back, we have a deck, and so they were super excited.
We're
And
so
then
back.
yeah, and then there's much more that Mox Opal fits into, and I would not be surprised if it was the first card banned or to get rebanned. I also wouldn't be surprised if it's the second card to get rebanned. Now, obviously, it could just not get banned. Maybe, the format is so powerful now with everything that's going on in it that it's not oppressive, right? Like, where it's not just going to take over. I could be, I could be wrong. It could not take over. We'll see, what happens. Obviously, no one has a crystal ball into the future to, predict what's going to get banned, what's going to get unbanned.
The crazy thing for me though is that there is another Mox on the ban list. I thought that card would have been more acceptable to kind of bring back, even though it is technically, I would say, less restrictive than Mox Opal because you're kind of zeroed in, laned in on, having a way to produce artifacts reliably enough that when you draw Mox Opal, it's going to add mana when you play it.
Hmm.
But like Chrome Mox, like in a world where if you 2-for-1 yourself, it has to be a very profitable 2-for-1 for you. And for me, like Chrome Mox just being a way that you 2-for-1 yourself and you're basically relying on like a third card, so you're like at a 3-for-1 or
Hmm.
3 cards to potentially do something, playing like a 2 or a 3 on turn 1. Maybe that is just too good. Maybe it's the fact that it's a little bit more broad, but the fact that you're restricted on the color of mana from the card that you imprint on it and things like that. And obviously you get worse on a mulligan, which we know the modern format is very prone to, like, hopefully being very disciplined and mulliganing hands that are like pretty close. Bring it back. We'll have
Why shouldn't I keep the
three
one land
mocks.
hand?
3 mocks.
So I will agree on that sentiment. I think that like it maybe is better, but I think it makes the combo decks much more broken. So like the reason why I think you can't unban Chrome Mox, as compared to where you can ban Mox Opal, is I think just like kind of look at like Ruby Storm and Charbelcher, like being able to like especially because like if you go to Charbelcher, you could make it if you went back like to the red version of Charbelcher, you could just like get to a situation where you could win on turn one with Charbelcher. Like you need a magical Christmas land hand. I'm not just disagreeing with that.
I don't
But
even
like you
think
get
it's I don't even think it's like magical Christmas land necessarily, but I mean, you're probably right. Like just the fact of like getting to play rituals and stuff on like turn 1 is probably just enough reason. Like you have to play a
yeah.
bunch of artifacts before you get 2 mana.
Because we were talking about this a little bit before we started the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like kind of agreeing with you, and then the more I sat here and thought about it, I'm like, oh wait, Storm's a deck. Hang on, hang on. I was like, wait, Storm's a deck and Charbelcher's a deck. That might like I agree with you until those I remember those cards existed, and I was like, oh wait, never mind, never mind.
True, that would be kind of toxic. My theory still stands though. Like we just put
Yeah,
all the moxes on a ban list.
yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, and can we stop making shitty boxes that for some reason Wizards wants to make as Cascade cards, please?
Well, there was yeah, I guess there was like the soul talisman too.
Yeah.
Is there a mox that suspends?
Uh, I think so. I
Because
think
I know there's
so.
a lotus, there's a soul ring. In real time, we're gonna check this.
I'm pretty sure there is.
Mox
I could.
Tantalite.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, suspend 3 for 0 mana, and it taps to add 1 mana of any color.
Yeah. The yeah, it's from Modern Horizons. That's what it was. I couldn't remember what modern it was from. But yeah, they kept trying to make it a thing. And I was like, stop making this a thing. But yeah, they keep trying to make that as a thing for some reason, and Wizards needs to stop.
Well, I mean, they've basically given us. I think they've given us most of the
Nope.
Power 9 in some form or another. And I guess a Mox. I guess Mox isn't even really that close. Mox Tantalite. Oh well, whatever. Whatever. I'm off it. Story still stands. Ban all the Moxes.
Agreed. Do you want to talk about the last card then?
Oh yeah, because this is the card that I'm almost assuredly I'm willing to take this to the grave. That Faithless Looting is not long for this world.
No.
We have a Mox, like arguably one of the best Moxes. Like really like the downside of it, not too much of a downside. Green Sun Zenith does some pretty broken things, but overall probably fair for the format, given how fast it is. And Splinter Twin isn't, I don't think, nearly as dominant as it was like in the mid 2010s.
No,
Faithless Looting,
8 years have gone past for
yeah.
Splinter to be knocked down a peg.
This is Michael Jordan coming out of retirement. We remember how cool Michael Jordan was, and yeah, Splinter Twin will probably still do some pretty cool things in the format, but like compared to everything else, I mean, it's not the same. The magic's not there. Like we see it, we're watching it happen, but it's not the same. Faithless Looting though, like the fact that that card of all cards that gets unbanned, and then I had someone say, "Oh, like Faithless Looting died for Hogak's sins." It's like, no, it didn't.
No, it didn't.
Literally, Faithless Looting was like right in the background of all the deck leaders or whatever. Like the reason why you would build a deck and why you would include Faithless Looting in it is in the background of every photo with like a Molotov in one hand and a flamethrower in the other, slowly just burning things down. And we're just like, no, it's this person, this person. It's like, yeah, like these people are definitely bad people, but did you notice like another villain in the background of all these photos? And there's Faithless Looting right there, thumbs up, big smile on his face, like, yeah, see what I'm doing?
So I will. Before we talk about what faithless looting does, my biggest argument when faithless looting was legal in modern was why can't I have ponder if they get to have faithless looting? I used to argue. My argument used to be that I should be able to have ponder because people have faithless looting. Like that is how powerful faithless looting is. I say real quick, I'm just gonna go over faithless looting just in case anyone doesn't know what this card does for some reason. It is a 1 mana sorcery. You draw 2 cards, then you discard 2 cards, and it has flashback for 2 and a red. So flashback, you pay the 2 and a red, and you get to recast the card and exile it after this card gets cast this way. So whether it gets countered or not, it still gets exiled. Um, on the surface, this card does not look broken, right? It's just card selection essentially.
Mm-hmm.
It's not card. People for some reason keep thinking that Faithless Looting is card advantage. It's not. You lose 3 cards to have 2 cards because you pay the card of Faithless Looting, then you draw 2 cards, then you discard 2 more cards. So you paid 3 cards to get 2 cards. That's not advantage. I just need to point that out because I heard that argument so often when this card was legal. They're like, "Oh, it's card advantage." Like it's not card advantage. It's 100% not card advantage. Now you can make it into card advantage if like you're discarding cards with flashback or things like that, where like you're getting still value from them.
Mm-hmm.
It is card selection,
Funny,
and it doesn't seem broken.
funny
right?
that you say that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem broken until you realize that it enables about every deck in Modern right now.
Oh, so yeah, so me when I talked about Faithless Looting is like because the first thing everyone's like, well, all the graveyard cards, like we draw a bunch of cards and we can discard 2 cards from this. So like something like Phoenix obviously wants to be able to put as many of them in the graveyard as possible. So this is like a way that for 1 mana you can get 2. It's like a cheap thing that you can do on your combo turn, potentially get more back. Cool, awesome, like based. That's what we've been doing with Faithless Looting. But a lot of it's like the graveyard decks, and it's like every part of this card is so relevant because like yeah, the graveyard decks love this card. It's something that you flash back later when you have mana lying around to potentially find like an out to whatever graveyard, or I guess not really graveyard hate, but you can flash it back later to kind of like find a way to like punch in that last bit of damage to finish off the game. Discarding cards, Hollow One eats that shit up. Like they're gonna be able to make their biggest threat cheaper. It's gonna be able to dump Vengevines into their graveyard to where they can cast their creatures, bring them back, and put a bunch of power into play. Even the fair decks, like just getting to play this in Jund. I remember playing this at like 1 or 2 copies in like Grixis Shadow, and just every time I played it was like, this is so good because I'm literally just digging 2 cards deep. Like, oh, I don't need these spells. Put them in my graveyard. I found a land another spell that I wanted. Like this is just even a fair Faithless Looting isn't necessarily broken, but it is just so good. It is so good. And the fact that like I just get to have this hang out in my graveyard for later. I'm gonna be able to flash it back. I'm gonna be able to set up Delirium. I'm gonna be able to set up graveyard threats. I'm gonna be able to set up my hand. It does so much for 1 mana. It's just a card that I didn't think could ever, well, not something that I didn't think necessarily could ever come back. But it's like usually with like a lot of these cards, they do get worse kind of as time goes on because the format does like slowly or rapidly increase in power. And Faithless Looting, I think, is a card that just has a bunch of untapped, unrealized potential that it just gets bigger and bigger with every set release.
So real quick, just to name off some of the decks that like Faithless Looting is now being played in. Um, since it's unbanning, what we're as of this recording, we're
Yeah,
4 days
or
from this
5 days
unbanning.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is now played in the Grixis Frog deck. So they're now using this to unearth to bin spells, make your dig for what you need, bin Abhorrent Oculus to unearth it. That's like one of the most mild decks that's being played in. Jund Creativity is back because it now plays Persist in the main, so it has an easy way to get this into the graveyard and be a graveyard deck. And like, oh, my opponent burned in graveyard hate. That's cool. I'm just going to Creativity into my Archons now instead. It's being played in the Through the Breach decks are playing it, or the Underworld Breach decks are playing it. You're seeing play in the Gorio's decks are playing it. We have a black red or not black red reanimate, black red
Delirium.
yeah, like Delirium Detective Phoenix deck. I don't know how to describe this deck honestly. It's Hollow One deck. We
Mm-hmm.
also have Hollow Vine deck that's running around. Basically the same thing, just playing Vengevines. Um, I know I'm missing some decks already, but that is 6 decks now, just off the top of my head.
I
Uh,
mean, there's going to be plenty
I mean,
more. I think once people realize, and I don't even think people necessarily don't realize it, but I maybe don't want to come to grips with the fact that like Faithless Looting, basically any deck that's playing like red mana, just play it.
yeah, but those are 6 decks off the top of my head that are now playing that card. Um, and it's just unreal that we're already. Phoenix is playing it too. That
Yeah.
sorry, Phoenix is also playing it. So 7. But yeah, seven decks just off the top of my head right now that are playing it. Um, and that being said, there's some like twin decks that are playing it too because it's good in the twin decks because you now get to oh, okay, we're dealing with an early aggressive deck. I have 2 Splinter Twins in my hand. Yeah, I'm gonna pitch that. That's not
Mm-hmm.
helping me this turn. Like, oh look, I drew into my removal. I drew into my early game interaction. Um, like it literally just fits into basically any deck that's playing red because it's card selection and like literally the biggest problem with modern is that you draw the wrong part of your deck. If you're any kind of like reactive or deck that can like interact with your opponent, like outside of like being a combo like pure combo deck, that's like the you need to be able to draw the right spells at the right time. And this card gives you card selection. It has flashback too, so when you're sitting, turn 5, turn 6, and you have 3 lands still in hand, you can just, flashback, get rid of the 2 lands, hopefully draw 2 relevant spells type situation. It's just so good. And it is going to homogen
Homogenize.
homogenize? Yeah.
Homogenize.
It
Yeah.
homogenize. Thank you. Homogenize. Words have been real hard this last like month. But
Oh,
it's going to go into everything. And this was my argument when it was in modern. Why can I not have preordain or ponder if they get to have faithless looting in every red deck? Why does my blue deck not get to have its 1 mana cantrip to be good? Like why am I getting punished because blue is not, because especially back then blue wasn't a good color. Like it wasn't played like, you're playing blue now. So it's just like can I get some stuff? Can I have some things?
and the answer to that question is no. You can apparently not have those things.
No, no. I mean, I did finally get preordained, so that was nice. It's okay because I got faithless looting back, so it doesn't matter. I still want my ponder.
Yeah,
Unban ponder, you cowards.
preordained without Faithless Looting is fine. Having Faithless Looting back means I need to have Ponder back.
Yeah, yeah.
I just really
Between
want
my
to play the card Ponder.
yeah, I own about like 30 copies.
That to me is just like a fun. It's a fun card to resolve.
Yes. It's really fun when you can misclick it on Modo and you accidentally shuffle instead of not shuffling.
Oh, all 3 cards are great. Top, 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 and no. Been there.
into drawing the absolute worst cards you could draw.
Cool. Another land.
Awesome. Did
Thank
it.
you. Oh
But
man.
no, I do think Faceless Looting is probably on the short list to get banned. I think honestly, I think Faceless Looting and Mox Opal are sprinting towards how fast they can get rebanned.
True. I almost think Faithless Looting is probably going to be the card that comes the closest. I think of all of the four, ends up being the closest to get banned, if not banned. I think it does so much for so little.
Oh, the other big thing about Faceless Looting too is so like the big problem is like the best graveyard hate to play usually is like the ley line of the black ley line. I can't think of what it's called.
Leon
Ley line
Void.
of Void. Ley line of the Void. The worst card about Ley line of the Void is when you draw it on any turn besides your opening hand, right? Faceless Looting fixes that problem. It's just like, you drew Ley line to the Void? Let me get those out of here for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh look, relevant spells.
True. Let's just dig past the garbage here. Like we don't want these cards. Let's play this. All right.
Just fix it. Leyline. Oh my god, not Leyline. Faceless Looting just fixes like 95% of Dex problems. And I
True.
think Aspiring Spike said it the best when he was because he always gets he always talks about like the unbannings because his chat loves to talk about what's gonna get banned, what's gonna get unbanned right after bannings even. For some reason he attracts that conversation. And he said it for a while now that Faceless Looting gets unbanned today. It's the best card in Modern. And I think he's 100% right. I think it becomes the most powerful and the best card in Modern, and I think it's not close. I think the only reason we're having a discussion already is because Mox Opal got unbanned with it. And those
Mm-hmm.
are two cards I didn't think were going to get unbanned relatively ever.
Two really big like direct enablers for some decks that I don't think necessarily really needed any help, but got the help anyway, and just pushes them that much farther up the chain of relevancy. And Faithless Looting, I think if it was the only card that got unbanned, and then it was like Green Sun Zenith and Splinter Twin, like 100%, like Faithless Looting, like run away. Like this card's going to get banned again at some point. It's just how long is it going to be in the format, and it's not oppressive like a Nadu or anything like that. Just because it is just an enabler, it is an engine to kind of make your deck go, and it does it so efficiently and so much better than anything else that why do anything else?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say 90% of the decks that I'm looking at, like building and start testing already, are playing Faithless Looting because I know it's good. I lived through Faithless Looting being printed into Standard, being put into Modern. I've seen it be played. I've seen it be good. I know it's good. Like it's not. There's no question in my mind that it's a good card.
We're not going to debate the validity of playing Faithless Looting in your deck. Just play it.
Yeah, yeah. It is. It's a good card. And like I said, I really want Green Sun Zenith to be playable. I like that card a lot. I got to play that card in Legacy. It's fun. I like playing that card. I don't know if my problem is I don't know if there's going to be a like a Maverick style deck, essentially that I can get to play, or like a Rock style deck that I get to play that isn't just going to have to be Yawgmoth or Samwise combo type situation.
Oh yeah,
And
Yogg though.
Splinter Twin is a Splinter Twin. I mean, there's not much to say about that. I refuse to buy Mox Opals at like $150 a piece, so I'm going to not remotely look at Mox Opal decks. I don't have $600 just lying around waiting to burn a hole in my pocket. So, Faceless
Sheesh.
Looting, Splinter Twin, these are the cards I'm looking at, like realistically playing in the modern, especially going into the RGs.
Understandable. Man, I can't wait. I'm gonna love playing me some modern.
Yeah, I say modern looks super fun. It's super wide open. There's everything and anything's available right now. Um, if you can't figure out a deck to play in modern, it's because you don't know how to have fun. Like,
True. True.
all right, now hear me out. Faceless Looting and Infect.
Faithless Looting and 56 other Magic the Gathering cards literally doesn't matter.
Uh, you talked about how Once Upon a Time could probably never get unbanned.
Mm.
I got to live in the dream world situation where we had Once Upon a Time, Oko, in the same Infect deck. You know how great it is that you can get to play a card that then like just turned around your bad matchup into a winnable matchup. Oko literally turned my like burn matchup, which was basically unwinnable for Infect, into a winnable matchup. And you got to play. Oh god, it was so good. I got to play the best. I got to play the best deck in my opinion, which was definitely not the best deck. With that, it was so fun. I had
Dog
so much
water.
fun.
Dog water.
Oh, dude, give me back Once Upon a Time, please. Make Infect playable again.
Stop it.
Yes, Infect.
Well, I think that's all. I think that's all we have.
Yeah, really. We were just kind of talking about the BNR announcement. Like I said, it just happened a couple days ago. There's not really much to talk about, like with the modern format, other than it's literally wide open. Um, play what you want to play. Now is the time to waste your points to try to figure out what's good, what's bad, because that's what everyone else is doing. You're going to run into a lot of affinity decks. Have the meltdowns in your sideboard. You need them
Have them ready to go.
because you're gonna be able to cast them because you're playing Faceless Looting, so it's okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about it for sure.
Yeah. Meltdown's definitely a good card to have in Modern now.
For Meltdown, for Leyline of the Void and Prey.
Exactly. There's your sideboards. Figure out the other like 7 cards.
Oh my god. Whew, that almost made me want to vomit.
Well, yes, because Faceless Looting's so good.
Nasty.
But yeah, I think that's everything I have to talk about, or kind of like go over why these cards are good.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same. I think I'm in the same boat here. I think we got the point across. Modern Suite. There's a lot of cool cards unbanned, and you only have a short time to play Faithless Looting, so I would get it in while you can.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess Faceless Looting is going to make it a maximum of a year and a half before it gets banned.
I think within 2025 it's going to be banned. Put
I
it on
think
the
so too.
calendar.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised to see Faceless Looting get rebanned.
Put it
I
on
want
the
you to know though, if
calendar.
Faceless Looting gets banned, Mox Opal's right behind it.
Well, yeah, that's fine. I don't care about Mox Opal. Faithless Looting, 1000%.
Look,
Stonks.
hot take: Mox Opal only got unbanned so they could help sell more standard packs because it could get printed in standard.
And with that said, thank you all so much for watching. Greatly appreciate any and all support the channel gets. Of course, if you enjoyed anything that you've seen here, please consider subscribing to the Casual Spikes Podcast YouTube channel, as well as subscribing to mine and Randy's channel. Any and all support goes a very long way into making these videos, and of course, you get even more content if you go and follow our channels, our personal channels as well. So that's always really cool.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
really
I
all I
say
got
we
to say.
I say we just kind of do this because we can. We both have day jobs. This is not anything we're making remote money on. So all the support helps. It helps the algorithms out so people actually can find our content.
Please and thank you.
Yes, please and thank you.
But all right, everyone. That was the Casual Spikes podcast. I'm Dakota. That's Randy, and we'll see you all potentially. Well, yeah, probably next week for maybe some cool modern stuff.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll have a kind of meta game to look at.
yeah. We'll have foundations, or not foundations. The tournament going on, coming up too for standard in Atlanta.
Yes, sir. Well, yeah, like a few weeks.
Weeks. Yeah.
Oh, alrighty. See you, everyone.
Bye.